He said to himself, "They were just a mistake, and I handled it like a man." That was what he had told himself 29 years ago, after ordering 3 black children to disappear from his life. But tonight, at a multi-million-dollar gala, they returned. Standing before him were 3 powerful and unstoppable adults. And tonight, under the glamorous lights of the multi-million-dollar gala, the past returned. No longer a faint ghost, it was now present in the flesh, striding in. 3 powerful and unstoppable adults. The light from the crystal chandelier danced on the marble floor of the ballroom at the Grand View Hotel. Charleston's elite buzzed about the biggest real estate auction of the year, with conversations swirling around multi-million-dollar deals. At the center of the party, Adam Newsom stood like a monument to success. His platinum hair was perfectly groomed, and his tailored Tom Ford suit accentuated his athletic physique at 57. As he casually adjusted his platinum cufflinks, his shrewd green eyes scanned the room. His gaze was calculating, sizing up competitors, and preparing for the decisive strike in the auction. The Riverside Heights lot, a waterfront gem with limitless potential, had to be his. This was more than just a deal. It was an affirmation of his status, power, and life philosophy. A world where success belonged to those born to win, as his late father had taught him. Adam Newsom had never doubted it. What makes a person believe they deserve everything they crave? The question sometimes crossed his mind, but he quickly dismissed it. Craving is the motivation, deserving is the result. It was all that simple. He had calculated everything: the maximum price, backup strategies, and potential competitors. He had already envisioned the luxury apartments, private marina, and a club named Newsom, a new legacy for his son, Donald. Yet, there was one variable his perfectly calculating mind had failed to foresee, a variable that consisted of 3 people. Just as the auctioneer's hammer fell, 3 people walked in: Anthony, Sheila, and Bruce Hunter, 3 black triplets in immaculate suits. They carried a quiet confidence that stood in stark contrast to the showy power of the crowd. Their wealth didn't come from jewelry, but from the elegance of people who had built their own empires. At 29, the Hunter siblings had founded a consulting firm specializing in urban development. They didn't build exclusive towers for the super-rich, but rather sustainable communities. As Adam Newsom watched them, a vague sense of unease washed over him. Their walk and their gaze stirred a deep memory he had tried to bury. Their faces, there was something very familiar about them. Success isn't about who deserves it, Sheila had said to her brothers. It's about who works the hardest and never gives up. Those words now carried a deep prophetic weight as they appeared to collect a debt from 29 years ago. We'll begin with the Riverside Heights lot, starting bid at $2 million. Adam immediately raised his paddle. $2,200,000. Anthony Hunter immediately countered. $2.5 million. Their eyes met. The blood in Adam's veins seemed to freeze. He felt himself being pulled back to the past, to a sterile hospital room, and a conversation that had haunted him for nearly 3 decades. A decision he had once thought was rational. Looking into the green eyes identical to his own, and their determined jawlines, Adam Newsom realized with a jolt, some victories come with a price paid over time, and some debts, no matter how deeply buried, will eventually find their way home. The memory hit Adam like a physical blow, transporting him back to that August night in 1996. He was 28, desperate to prove he was worthy of the Newsom legacy. He could still hear his father's words: "A man's character isn't defined by what he gains, but by what he's willing to sacrifice for the greater good of his family." At Charleston Memorial Hospital, Robin was in a difficult labor with dangerous complications. In the hallway, a timid nurse approached him, saying a young woman who had just given birth to triplets wanted to see him. It was Sylvia Upton, the woman with whom he had a brief affair, a mistake he had tried to bury. She claimed he was the father of her children. Adam found Sylvia in room 314. She looked weak but hopeful when she saw him. "They're your children, Adam," she whispered. "Thank God you came. I didn't know who else to call. Sylvia, he stood frozen in the doorway, torn between compassion and his instinct for self-preservation. This isn't, we can't. They are your children, she said simply. 3 of them, 2 boys and a girl. The doctors said there might be complications, but they are so healthy. They are fighters. At that very moment, Robin gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Donald. But on the floor above, Sylvia had also given birth to 3 children with green eyes and jawlines identical to Adam's. It was undeniable. Adam was faced with a choice. Accept the children and destroy his marriage and career, or find another solution. There's a family, he told Sylvia after hours of deliberation. The Hunters. They are good people, loving people, and they can adopt all 3 children so they can stay together. But he didn't tell her that he paid for the entire adoption fee and set up anonymous financial support funds to ensure they would never want for anything. It was his way of providing for them without destroying the life he had built with Robin. In return, he made the Hunter family promise one thing: never to tell the children about their biological father. Anthony, Sheila, and Bruce would believe they were the Hunters' children, born of choice and unconditional love. Now, the voice of the auctioneer brought Adam back to the present. Do I hear $3 million? Anthony Hunter raised his paddle, with Sheila and Bruce standing in seamless coordination beside him, an efficient machine of 3 brilliant minds bidding against their own biological father. Adam's hand trembled slightly as he raised his own paddle. 3,200,000. The bidding continued, now just between Adam and the Hunter triplets. 4 million, Sheila announced. Adam studied them. He saw Anthony's determination, Sheila's sharp gaze, and Bruce's careful poise. They were successful, confident, and completely unaware of the man they were competing against. A strange mix of guilt and a bizarre sense of pride swelled within him. 4.5 million, Adam rasped. He recalled the confidential reports he'd requested over the years. The Hunters had been wonderful parents, giving the 3 children every opportunity. Anthony, Sheila, and Bruce had started the Hunter Development Consulting firm, specializing in affordable housing projects, the complete opposite of his own empire. 5 million, Anthony stated, his eyes holding a deep sense of purpose. 5,200,000, Adam countered. Sheila leaned forward, studying him with eyes that were uncannily like his own. Then she turned to her brothers. 6 million. The absurd number made Adam's advisors flinch, but this was no longer about money. Adam saw Robin and Donald in the background. Robin knew nothing of his secret, and Donald was his perfect reflection. Just as Adam was about to make his final bid, Bruce stepped forward, an old, brown envelope in his hand. Adam's heart pounded. Bruce had found out the truth. "Mr. Newsom," Bruce said, his voice carefully controlled, "I believe we need to talk." "I don't know what you think you know," Adam began, but Bruce cut him off, holding up the envelope. "Someone sent this to our office. Pictures, medical records, birth certificates. We never knew what was missing." Adam's mouth went dry. Who had revealed the secret after all these years? "My siblings don't know yet," Bruce said, his gaze shifting to a worried Anthony and Sheila. "But judging by your reaction, I don't need a DNA test to know. It's the truth, do I?" $6 million. Going once, going twice. The auctioneer's voice boomed. The auction had stalled. "Who sent you those documents?" Adam whispered. "Someone who thought we deserved to know the truth about where we came from," Bruce replied, his jaw tight. "About the anonymous payments into our college funds." The weight of 29 years of deception crashed down on Adam. $6 million going for the last time. "The truth is," Adam choked. "The truth is, this man is our biological father," Bruce declared. "Isn't that right, Mr. Newsom?" A deafening silence fell over the room. Anthony and Sheila looked from Bruce to Adam, searching for the resemblance. "That can't be," Sheila said, her voice uncertain. "Sold to the Hunters for $6 million. The gavel struck down. "Really?" Anthony said. "Because it looks like we just outbid our own father." Adam saw Robin and Donald moving toward him. "We need to talk," he said urgently. "But not here." "When?" Sheila demanded. "We just won the biggest auction of our careers, but all I can think about is that my life has been built on a lie." "Tomorrow, 9 a.m., my office," Adam replied. "I'll tell you everything." "Why did you abandon us?" Bruce pressed. "You were never unwanted," Adam said fiercely. "That was the problem." "Adam, who are your new friends?" Robin's voice cut through the tension. "Robin, I'd like you to meet Anthony, Sheila, and Bruce Hunter," Adam said. "They are very successful developers." "Are you the Hunters who run that lovely affordable housing initiative?" Robin asked. "That's us," Sheila replied. Donald stepped forward. "Congratulations on beating my dad for the Riverside Heights auction." "Our dad," Anthony corrected. The 9-year-old secret was about to explode. But before anyone could say more, a new voice rang out. Well, isn't this a touching family reunion?" Everyone turned to see a tall, elegant woman with familiar green eyes. Sylvia Upton. She had returned, and from the look in her eyes, she wasn't there to congratulate them. Sylvia Upton strode through the crowd with a confident air, her navy suit perfectly tailored. She was no longer the frightened two-year-old girl from all those years ago, but it was her green eyes, so identical to Adam's, that silenced everyone. "Sylvia," Adam breathed out, the name escaping like a curse. Robin clutched Donald's arm, sensing the shift in the room's atmosphere. "Do you know this woman?" The triplets stood frozen, their auction victory suddenly meaningless. Sheila was the first to speak. "She's our birth mother." Sylvia's composure cracked as she looked at her children. "Look at how extraordinary you've all become." "You sent the documents," Bruce stated, holding up the envelope. "You're the one who decided it was time for the truth." Sylvia turned to Adam, her eyes hard. "Did you really think you could bid against your own children without them knowing? Did you think you could keep this a secret for another 29 years? Robin interjected. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been a mistake." "Who are you?" "I'm Sylvia Upton," she replied. "I believe your husband has a great deal of explaining to do to both of our families." Donald laughed, a sharp, cold sound. "Dad, what is she talking about?" Adam felt the walls closing in. He saw Robin's confusion, Donald's alarm, and the hurt in the triplets' eyes. "Maybe we should talk somewhere more private," Adam suggested. "No," Sylvia said firmly. "I've waited 29 years. I will not be relegated to some back room for you to control the narrative again." Anthony asked, "How long have you been watching us?" "Since you graduated high school," Sylvia admitted. "I have an album full of newspaper clippings about all of you." "But you never tried to make contact," Sheila said. "I gave up that right when I signed the adoption papers," Sylvia replied. "The Hunters gave you everything I couldn't. I wasn't going to disrupt that just for my own satisfaction." "Then why now?" Bruce asked. Sylvia's gaze shifted back to Adam. "Because 3 months ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. The idea of taking this secret to my grave no longer felt so noble. My children deserve to know the truth." Robin gasped, covering her mouth. "Your children, Adam. What is she talking about?" The moment Adam had dreaded had finally arrived. He looked at his wife. "Robin," he began, his voice thick with emotion. 30 years ago, before Donald was born, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake that resulted in 3 beautiful children, children who deserved more than I could give at the time." Donald's face went white. "Are you saying these people are my half-siblings?" "Yes," Adam said simply. "Anthony, Sheila, and Bruce are your family, too." A deafening silence fell. Robin staggered, and Donald caught her. "How could you?" Robin whispered. "How could you hide this from me for 30 years?" "Because I was a coward," Adam admitted. Sheila stepped forward. "What about us? What about growing up and wondering why we weren't good enough for our birth parents to keep?" "You were always good enough," Adam said in a rush. "You were perfect. I did this so you could have a better life." "What we deserved was the truth," Anthony countered. "Did we?" Bruce asked, his voice bitter. "Now, everything we know is built on a lie." Donald finally spoke. I have 3 siblings I never knew about. I honestly admire what you've all accomplished. His words seemed to break the tense atmosphere. Then let's start with honesty, Sylvia said with finality. Robin straightened, her face more resolute now. I need time to process this, but I have to say, your eyes, they're just like your father's. We weren't asking you to accept us, Sheila said softly. You're our family anyway, Donald blurted out, surprising everyone. A glimmer of hope appeared. But before anyone could reply, the ballroom doors swung open. 2 men in dark suits walked in. Adam Newsom, one announced. You are under arrest for real estate fraud and money laundering. The clink of the handcuffs echoed, a stark, hollow sound that reverberated through the ballroom. Curious guests began to pull out their phones. This must be a mistake, Robin said, her voice trembling. My husband is an honest businessman. We have financial records from the last 15 years, the investigator replied. Forged loan applications and a sophisticated money laundering scheme. Mr. Newsom has been under investigation for 8 months. Adam's mind raced. 8 months. That was around the time he had noticed irregularities in the books. Donald stepped forward, his face pale. Dad, don't say anything without a lawyer. As the investigators led Adam away, he caught the eyes of Anthony, Sheila, Bruce, and Sylvia. The triplets looked shocked and confused, while their birth mother wore a complex expression that was part vindication, part empathy. Wait, Sheila said, surprising everyone. What are the charges? Wire fraud, money laundering, falsifying loan records, the investigator recited. Over $50 million, over a 15-year period. Anthony stepped forward, his engineering mind automatically analyzing. 15 years ago, that was right after the financial crisis. What are you thinking? Bruce whispered. I'm thinking about the anonymous payments that helped fund our education, Anthony replied. What if they weren't an act of generosity, but part of something larger? A sudden realization hit Adam. The money he sent his children could have been misconstrued as part of a money laundering operation. Officers, Sylvia said, there may be mitigating circumstances. These 3 are Mr. Newsom's biological children. He has been financially supporting them anonymously for years. Are you suggesting what appears to be a crime is actually a father trying to provide for his unacknowledged children? The investigator asked. Sheila scrolled through her phone. Bruce, do you remember those quarterly deposits into the business account that our lawyer couldn't trace? We always assumed they came from satisfied investors, Bruce said. What if they were from him? Anthony looked directly at Adam. Every cent I sent was from legitimate income, Adam said carefully. But someone made it look like it wasn't, Donald said suddenly. Someone who knew about the payments and could manipulate the books. Robin spoke up. The new accounting firm, Clearwater Financial, they had access to everything. Clearwater Financial, Adam repeated. They framed me. Sheila held up her phone. I just pulled up Clearwater's incorporation papers. The primary investor is Riverside Holdings, LLC. That's the company that was bidding against us tonight, Bruce said. Someone wanted both the lot and to destroy our birth father's business. Anthony grabbed his phone, calling his contacts. I need to know who is behind Riverside Holdings. The investigator conceded that the situation was more complex than they had thought, but still proceeded to take Adam away. As Adam was led out, Robin approached the triplets and Sylvia. I want to help, Robin said. He doesn't deserve to be ruined by someone else's scheme. Sylvia nodded. Our children are very good at problem solving. Perhaps it's time for them to work together. Donald looked at his newly discovered siblings. This is just another kind of development problem, isn't it? Sheila, Donald, and Bruce began to strategize. They needed Adam's real financial records and to figure out why someone wanted that lot so badly. Anthony returned, his face both grim and satisfied. I have the answer. Riverside Holdings is owned by a conglomerate that's planning to build a private port facility. They need that lot for exclusive access, and they needed to get Adam out of the way because he would have opposed their plan. So this was never about the auction, Sylvia said. It was about getting rid of the only person with enough clout to block their plan. As the ballroom doors closed behind Adam, his family, both the one he had claimed and the one he had hidden, stood together for the first time. And the children Adam had tried to protect by giving them away were now his only hope for salvation. But as Sheila pulled up the complex financial records, her face went pale. "There's one more thing," she said quietly, "something that changes everything about tonight's auction." Sheila's fingers trembled as she scrolled through the financial documents. "The $6 million we bid tonight, it didn't come from our accounts." Her voice was a mere whisper. "Someone deposited the exact amount of $6 million into our company account 3 hours before the auction." The implication hit everyone at once. "Someone manipulated the entire situation," Anthony said, his tone sharp. "They framed Dad for financial crimes to weaken his position, then ensured we had the money to outbid him." Robin's face was ashen. "But why you?" "Because they knew about our connection," Sylvia said, her voice steely. "Someone has been planning this for months, maybe years." Donald immediately made a call. "I'm getting Dad's lawyer to the police station. If this is a setup, we need to document everything." Meanwhile, an older man stood in the shadows near the exit. "Who is that?" Anthony asked. "He's been standing there the whole time." "That's Gregory Upton," Bruce realized. Our dad's old accountant." Gregory turned, his shoulders slumped. "I never wanted it to go this far," he said. "I thought I was done with all the secrets." "But you're not," Sheila said, getting straight to the point. "Someone approached you about those records." Gregory nodded miserably. "A syndicate of investors. They were tracking Adam, knew about his payments to you three, and wanted to make them look like a crime." "You ruined my father to protect the very people he was protecting," Donald said, his face hardening with anger. "Your father created an impossible situation," Gregory countered. "I spent 3 decades ensuring his conscience money got to you without destroying his marriage." Sylvia stepped forward. "You were involved in our lives from the very beginning. You arranged the adoption." "Someone had to," Gregory said. "Adam was paralyzed with guilt and fear." "I did it," Robin spoke up. 30 years of lies from both of you. You both thought I was too weak to handle the truth." "I want to hear it from Adam himself," Robin said. "I want to understand how the man I married could live with this level of deception." Sheila looked up from her phone. "We have a choice to make. We can either profit from the scheme that destroyed our father's life, or we can expose the truth and give up everything we won tonight." Donald was the first to speak. "There's a third option. We keep the lot, but we use it for the community, not for ourselves." Anthony nodded. "The kind of project that would directly counter any of their plans, but we'd still be using dirty money," Bruce pointed out. "Money that was put into our account without our consent," Sylvia corrected. "Now we can redirect it toward a legitimate purpose." Robin looked at the 4 young people. "Gregory, you're going to help us right this wrong. You're going to provide the evidence to the investigators." 3 hours later, Adam walked out of the police station. The charges had been dropped. Gregory had provided the evidence. Adam's entire family was waiting for him. "So," Adam said, "you decided to keep the lot." "Yes," Sheila said with resolve, "but we're developing it into a mixed-income community with affordable housing, green spaces, and local business opportunities. Everything your corporate rivals tried to prevent. And we want Hunter Newsome Development to be a partnership," Anthony added. "If you're interested." Adam looked at Robin, Donald, and Sylvia, who all nodded in silent agreement. "I think," Adam said slowly, "it's time to stop running from the past and start building something better for the future." As the sun rose over Charleston, 2 families, shaped by 30 years of secrets, began the difficult but hopeful work of becoming a single family built on truth. The property that started the night as a symbol of competition and greed would become something else entirely. A foundation for healing, growth, and the kind of development that strengthens communities instead of tearing them apart. The auction fight was over. The real work of building a family had just begun. He paid to have them erased. Thought they would never come back, but they did. And this time, they took everything. Thanks for staying with us. Do you think he deserved to be forgiven? See you in the next story.